Brad. Come here.
Thank you, Steve. Bless you. Good morning, everyone. We will be turning in our Bibles today to the book of Joshua, chapter 1. And last week we were introduced to Joshua, the man. And then we started in chapter 1, and I believe we made it to verse 9. So let me get turned there. Of course, we talked about Joshua taking the reins after Moses' passing of leading God's people into the promised land. He's got a big job ahead of him, but I think he's the man for the job. He's got the credentials. If you think about it, what he'd been through, he was there when they left Egypt. He's made it this 40 years when the majority of those individuals did not. It's the next generation. It's with Joshua going in. So don't, never be surprised at small numbers. I think that kind of runs the course through the Bible if you think about it. Joshua and Caleb's the two that made it from the time of Egypt out of a lot of people, if you think about it. Not Moses, but Noah and his family at the great flood. 8 people, Tommy. 8 people was on the ark. There was a lot of people on the earth in those days. So, it's the small number. Don't be discouraged when you see that in the Bible, because a lot of times big things come from a small number of people. And that can even happen in our own lives, I believe, as we're living today. But anyway, I will start here with chapter 1 of Joshua, and I'll start reading verse 9. And of course, they're on the eastern bank of the Jordan River, and it's early springtime, the very first harvest. And that's the barley harvest in that time. We've talked about that's really an early planted crop. We'll see where we're the first month in the sun. I'm thinking about it, you got mountains in that area, and you got snows. So that Jordan River is going to swell this time of year, and it's going to be probably up out of the banks. It's a flooding time of year. So there's a big task ahead of Joshua and the people. And of course, the Jordan River today is not like it was back then. You can do some studying on it, and through irrigation practices and whatever else they do these days, and dams, etc., and withdrawing water from the Jordan for a higher population, it's really just a shadow of what it probably was back in those days. So we don't want to take from the miracle that we're going to read about here in the book of Joshua and thinking, well, that don't seem like much of a river to cross from if you see pictures today. Well, it's quite a bit different back then, they say. So quite a bit different. So we got that coming up. So, okay, I'm going to start with chapter 1, verse 9. All right. Have not I commanded thee, be strong and of good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou dost go. All right, got a big job ahead here, of course. And dismayed, it means do not be disappointed or distressed here. All right, so now I'm going to read 10 and 11. Pass through the host and command the people, saying, prepare your victuals or victuals, however you want to say it there, for the provisions, basically. For within 3 days ye shall pass over this Jordan to go in to possess the land which the Lord your God giveth you to possess it. All right, pretty self-explanatory. Now I'm going to read 12 through 15. And to the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh. Now, who are we talking about here? Why these specific 3 tribes? If you'll remember, they wanted some of this land on the east side of the Jordan for themselves. And then, of course, if you remember, Moses was a little bit distraught, thinking, uh-oh, here we go. They're not going to want to go in and fight and do their part. But they made an agreement. We read that earlier in the earlier book. And so that's why they're spoken here. And spake Joshua, saying, remember the word which Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, saying, the Lord your God hath given you rest and hath given you this land. All right, keep going. Your wives, your little ones, and your cattle shall remain in the land which Moses gave you on this side of the Jordan, but ye shall pass before your brethren armed. He's saying, you're going to have to go with us. All the mighty men of valor, and help them, until the Lord have given your brethren rest, and he hath given you, and they also which possess the land which the Lord your God giveth them. Then ye shall return unto the land of your possession, and enjoy it, which Moses, the Lord's servant, gave you on this side of the Jordan toward the sun rising. So he brings that out to light early on, making sure that they're going, they know what they agreed to, and they need to be part of the army into going into the possess this land. All right. Now read 16 through 18, finish this chapter up. And they answered Joshua, saying, all that thou commandest us we will do, and whithersoever thou sendest us we will go. According as we hearkened unto Moses in all things, as they listened to him, so will we listen, hearken unto thee. So they're saying they're going to listen to Joshua. Only the Lord thy God be with thee as he was with Moses. And, you know, they're bringing to light that they're wanting to see that God's going to be with him just as he was with Moses. And that's what's going to happen coming up here. When they cross this Jordan River, Joshua's presence is going to be magnified. And I think we've already determined that, you know, we didn't read about any major complaints from the tribes or no one trying to usurp his power or protest when he took over from Moses. So I feel like he was already pretty well accepted, but in the upcoming chapters here, we're going to see that God magnifies Joshua. He's going to give him credibility just like Moses had when they cross that Jordan River, because it's going to be just another mighty miracle, just like we saw at the Red Sea. And don't let nobody diminish from it. I feel like it is a true miracle. That's why God, in his word, puts it, they walked on dry ground, and them waters were heaped up. It was a miracle of God. And it was such a miracle of God that wheresoever their feet are going to trod upon this land, that the fear in the people of there is going to be there, just because of the fact that they've heard of the miracles that God's people happened, you know, the defeats of Og and Sihon, the kings on the east side of the Jordan. Them people in Canaan are already sweating, and they're worried they're going to cross that river, but they're hoping that river's strong enough that they ain't going to be coming over there. But that's when this miracle's going to happen. And that's when the dread's going to come upon them people in that land. All right? Hearken to Moses. Okay, verse 18. Whosoever he be that doeth rebel against thy commandment, and will not hearken unto the words and all that thou commandest him, he shall be put to death. Only be strong and of good courage. So they're agreeing, you know, if somebody don't obey what the man in charge is saying here, it's a severe penalty. It'll be death. All right, so we've got the pep talk to the people. Joshua's, you know, clarified things with the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, that they're going to have to go in and fight. The women and children are going to be left behind on the east side of the Jordan in fortified cities. I'm sure there'll be some soldiers probably left to help protect those cities. That would kind of be common sense. You wouldn't leave all the women and children. But if you'll remember, we read in the law, in the book of the law, there was provisions which some of the men didn't go into battle anyway. Mainly if they were terrified and scared. They didn't want them going with them. Some of them, if they were newly married, I think. Wasn't some of them if newly married? I'm just going by memory here on this. So there might be some men left behind in those cities. And you could probably do the math when they say how many soldiers were actually brought together as they crossed that Jordan from the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half-tribe of Manasseh. So, all right, chapter 2 familiar story with most people in here, I'm sure, the story of Rahab. And the spies are going to be sent into the land here. Joshua's going to send some spies across the Jordan, going over and see what's going on at Jericho. And this time, of course, it's not 12 that Joshua sends, we'll read, it's going to be 2. So with that being said, maybe there won't be so many that can dissent and cause strife within the camp because of having so many different opinions, you know. So let's see what we got here. I'm going to read verse 1 to get this started off. Chapter 2, verse 1. And Joshua, the son of Nun, sent out of Shittim. That's the last campsite we're going to look at here on this side of the Jordan River. Shittim itself, I looked it up. It's just another word for acacia wood. I think the ark was made out of acacia wood, if you remember back. It's a durable, very resilient type of wood. It'll last. Just happens to be the same name as this, a desert tree. Out of Shittim, 2 men went to spy secretly, saying, Go view the land, even Jericho. And they went and came into a harlot's house named Rahab and lodged there. Now, reading that, why in the world did they go stay at a harlot's house when they crossed over into Jericho? But if you think about it, where are foreign men in a strange land? Where are they probably going to reside, especially if they're spying out that land? They're going to dwell somewhere where they don't stick out like a sore thumb. The strange people in a place like this is pretty common. It's probably not going to draw a lot of attention to them. Although they are found out, if we'll read on in the verses. And I wanted to study a little bit on that. I got to thinking, if you're a Jewish man in this time, and somebody's going to recognize them. We're going to read that here in the upcoming verses, even though they go to this place to kind of lay low. Did they look different than the Canaanites? And when I first read it, it said, these people are Semitic descent and, and so forth like that, and they all had the same color skin, etc. like that. And I'm like, well, that don't really make them look no different if they all kind of look the same, of Semitic descent there in that part of the land. But then I kept reading and studying. But if you remember, what's God's people, what are they to be in this situation as they travel through this land and they go into Canaan? They are to be set apart. And what do you think makes them set apart from the Canaanites around them? They would be recognizable, I believe. They have practices in which they're supposed to trim their beard a certain way. Once you get to reading the Torah and the law, I think the way they ate a certain way. The things they ate, they're going to stand out differently. They're going to be, set apart. And that's because the people around them see them. And last but not least is going to be the religious practices they follow. They're definitely going to be set up in the way they portray themselves in their prayers or the way they act out in public and et cetera like that. So think about that, The people do come to Rahab, as we read in the upcoming verses, and where are these men that came to stay in your inn or your home? And of course, we'll read she hides them like that. So somebody around there spotted them and noticed their difference. So you could tell them apart because they're supposed to be set apart if they live the way God wants them to live according to the Torah. All right. So why secretly? Joshua knew from experience. Yeah, if here's this relating to verse 1 still. Why was this secretly sent? Joshua knew from experience if the 2 spies came back with bad news that the whole camp would be disheartened. So he didn't want to sent that thing out secret. If they come back with a bad report, he'll probably keep it quiet. Maybe. You see what I'm saying? So only 2. Why? I briefly, 12 was too many. That's what happened at Kadesh Barnea. You had a bunch of different, a couple of guys wanted to go and the rest didn't. Rahab, this was in, make sure Rahab. And a little history on Rahab, as we read into the future, Rahab is going to marries a man named Salmon, and they have a son. Y'all gonna recognize the name soon as I say it. It's Boaz. And then we know Boaz is a descendant of David, thus leading on into the future, the family of Christ. Okay, so, and we already talked about why the harlot's home, and also I left this out of why they stopped at the harlot's house too, but not just not draw so much attention, but there's going to be probably gossip and news in a place like that with different people going in and out. So it's going to be a good place to collect intel. So I almost forgot to bring that out too. So multiple reasons why they went there. All right. Now I'm going to read verses 2 through 7. And it was told the king of Jericho, saying, Behold, there came men hither tonight of the children of Israel to search out the country. Well, yeah, almost 2 through 7. So somebody spotted them, like I said. They stood apart, regardless they come in late. They're hanging out at the place where it's common for strangers to go. All right, but somebody spotted them. And the king of Jericho sent unto Rahab, saying, Bring forth the men that are come to thee, which are entered in thine house, for they come to search out all the country. So they're thinking they're spies. The king's already thinking these guys are spies. And the woman took the 2 men and hid them, and said, Thus there came men unto me, but I wist not whence they were. They're saying, Well, I don't know where they're at, where they went. And it came to pass about the time of shutting of the gate, when it was dark, that the men went out. Whither the men went, I wot not. Pursue after them quickly, for ye shall overtake them. Now, she's adding a little extra information to this too here. Maybe you need to get on the ball and go catch them, find out where they went. All right. But she had brought them up to the roof of the house, and had hid them in stalks of flax. All I could find about it, I just wondered why flax was being stored on top of the house, but it's actually being dried, and apparently it was used to make some type of garment, high quality garment back in that time. I don't know much beyond that, but I was just curious as to why flax was up there. Of course, we know the rooftop. We talked about it in other chapters. A lot of things went on the rooftop. They dried food, dried flax, of course. They went up there to stay when it was cool at times. All right. So now, verse 7, And the men pursued after them the way to Jordan and to the fords, where the river crossed, and as soon as they which pursued after them were gone out, they shut the gate. All right. So word reaches king fast, and like I said, that's it. And the search ensues. The king's got them looking for them, and Rahab is covered for them, is what we read here. Now 8 through 13. And before they were laid down, she came up unto them upon the roof. Now, obviously, Rahab hid these men, and I think she was able to identify who they were, and we're going to read that. She knows who they are. She's figured out who they are. And that dread that's up on the land we were talking about earlier, we're going to find out that's actually a reality in Jericho, that the word's out that those Israelites that have been traveling on the east side of the Jordan, they're getting close, and they may come over here and take our cities. So the dread's upon them, and we'll see it's everyone in the city. And Rahab's special here. Think about it. She hides them, and she's going to make a request here in a minute too. And, the Bible don't say there's a lot of other Rahabs in the town. She is able to save her family if she tells them to be there at a certain time, and we will read the details on that. So, but just there again, a small number again, big results. Small number, big results. All right, 8 through 13. And before they were laid down, she came up unto them upon the roof, and she said unto the men, I know that the Lord hath given you the land, and that your terror is fallen upon us. Terror instead of dread, terror. I thought it dread, but anyway, same thing. And that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you. So these people in this land are terrified. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water out of the Red Sea for you. Now she's bringing that up, that miracle all the way back 40 years ago from the Red Sea. And you got those people over in Canaan that's thinking that Jordan River is the only thing that's separating them from the terror that's on the other side of the riverbank. And what is the precedent that's been set? When these people are met with a body of water that's in the way, well, they hear the story about what happened at the Red Sea, and it's big enough to put terror in these people's hearts. All right? For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when you came out of Egypt. But what you did unto the two kings of the Amorites that were on the other side of the Jordan, see, that's new news too. That's not right after they left Egypt. That's toward the end of this 40 years as we're getting there. So this is new news for these people. And this Sihon and Og that we're reading about here, these were no lightweights. If I think Og was a giant of a man, that's the one that had the super long, tall, big bed, etc., like that. So when that news is spread over to this side of the Jordan River, I mean, these people have got real terror in their hearts, whom ye utterly destroyed. Keep going. Now, at 11. As soon as we had heard these things, our hearts did melt. Neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. For the Lord your God, he is God in heaven above and in the earth beneath. Now, therefore, I pray you, swear unto me by the Lord, since I have showed you kindness. Another word for loyalty here. She's reminding them that ye will also show kindness unto my father's house and give me a true token. Now, here's where she's making a request. If her life and her family's can be spared, because she knows what's coming. And everybody else in that town knows what's coming. And that river ain't even been parted yet. We ain't even got to that part. That Jordan River's overflowing the banks, and she's already thinking, it's going to be bad news over here for us. But she believes these men will spare her life. She believes that. And then she's showing that loyalty. Make sure And the main thing, here too, I made a note of that. It's no accident that the spies end up here as we read and study. Part of God's plan. And it don't let the fact that she's a pagan prostitute diminish, because she believes in the one true God. She believes in the one true God. What she is here on the earth don't diminish from that at all. And we're going to see she's going to be spared, her and her family. 14 through 16. And the men answered her, our life for yours, if you utter not this our business. So if you don't tell on us, our life for yours. And the same vice versa they're going to say. Now, if we spill the beans, tell something, our life will be gone. Or ours won't be spared. All right, and it shall be when the Lord hath given us the land, and it didn't say, and it shall be when the Lord might give us the land. These two guys are saying it's going to happen, that we will deal kindly and truly with thee. So they're making that promise to her. They're going to deal kindly with her and her family. 15. Then she let them down by a cord through the window, for her house was upon the town wall, and she dwelt upon the wall. So she had access to let them out beyond the wall of the Jericho. 16. And she said unto them, get you to the mountains, lest the pursuers meet you and hide yourselves there 3 days until the pursuers be returned, and afterward you may go your way. She's not only letting them escape the city, she's even giving them a tip to where to go to the mountains where there's caves, plenty of places to hide, while the citizens, the pursuing, are out trying to find them. And she gave them bad news on which direction they went on top of that. So she's really helping out these guys. 17 through 21. And the men said unto her, we will be blameless of this thine oath which thou hast made us swear. Behold, when we come into the land, thou shalt bind this line of scarlet thread in the window which thou didst let us down by. And thou shalt bring thy father and thy mother and thy brethren and all thy father's household home unto thee. So through her belief alone, and what God was going to do, and when he comes into this land, her whole family's going to survive from this, just from her belief. So, that just goes to that one person in that whole town right there, that small number, what a difference it can make for them people in there. And this scarlet thread, I just made some notes here. It runs through the Bible. Rahab, if you remember the Passover, what was on the doorpost, red. The priestly garments had red in them. And if you remember Tamar's twins that were born when she tricked Judah, one of them had a red thread on his wrist. You remember that? So that red thread, we'll read more. That color will come up as we go through God's Word. Draws highlights to things. All right, now I'm going to read, see where I got 19. And it shall be that whosoever shall go out of the doors of thy house into the street, his blood shall be upon his head. He said they need to stay in the house, and we will be guiltless. And whosoever shall be with thee in the house, his blood shall be upon our head if anyone is laid upon us. So, they're warning him. They're warning her to tell her family, now, you're going to be spared in your house, but don't think you're going to be out there to run around in the street at the same time, because that ain't going to happen. If your family's going to survive, they're going to be in this house, in this room with you. And so keep that in mind. Now I'm going to read 20. And if thou utter this our business, we will be quit of thine oath, which thou hast made to us swear. I don't think we have to worry about Rahab doing that. And she said, according unto your word, so be it. And she sent them away, and they departed, and she bound the scarlet line in the window. Now I'm going to finish up here right quick, 22 till 24. And they went and came unto the mountain and abode there 3 days until the pursuers were returned. And pursuers sought them throughout all the way, but found them not. So the two men returned and descended from the mountain and passed over and came to Joshua the son of Nun and told them all things that befell them. And they said unto Joshua, truly the Lord hath delivered into our hands all the land, for even the inhabitants of the country do faint because of us. So the spies are letting Joshua know, hey, we've got this thing in the bag. These people are terrified of us. And of course, they still got to get across that river to get there, but we'll get into that next week. That's it. I'll dismiss us with a prayer this morning. Dear God, our Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day, Lord. Truly thankful for your word, Lord. I'm thankful for the truth, the wisdom, just the insight into life in general that we read in every